Hi guys, I'm back. I've got the first video uploading and ruining all my internet bandwidth, and I got another coffee. Always tastes better out of an RC themed mug. So, got a simple job putting some suspension arms on, going to race through that, and then I'll focus in a bit more detail on the front uprights and the steering hubs and stuff, because that is a bit more complicated. So just get this lot done quickly, got it ready to go here. Apart from not having enough screws, let's get some more screws. Okay, now I've got enough screws. So I've got these parts ready. This is the rear. Screw that into place, put those in place. So one thing I was noticing about this, I kind of finished off the videos, the last video yesterday, and had to go to the climbing wall to train, and then had to go out for a Chinese meal and stuff, which is all quite fun, but I was kind of missing doing this. And this is one thing I'm trying to kind of show how these builds can work for someone who's not very experienced with it, but also I'm finding it really fun. It's RC is fun, building is fun. These kind of step-by-step things, they're quite methodical. They're not. Doesn't seem super complicated so far. No doubt there'll be something that'll trip me up, but yeah, I was really enjoying it. So keen to get back to it. This at highlights, you've got to get these parts the right way around on here. This is the sort of thing that can trip you up easily. So I've got everything ready in the way the diagram shows. Nice chunky metal U-pin here to hold the lower suspension arms in place. Just takes a little bit of careful lining up. This is a sort of time where I think an octopus would be kind of useful. There we go. This should just slide in. Perfect. Look at that. It's the sort of time we're having a little battery rechargeable or whatever screwdriver would be pretty useful. I don't have one, so I was just making do by hand. I just checked while I was screwing this. I'm an idiot. I put the wrong screws in here. That's because I just assumed everything was these very common MA1 screws. I didn't check properly. I'm leaving this in because I'm an idiot. You don't have to be an idiot. you can get this right just by. I got carried away, I guess, due to how easy some of these other parts were, and I didn't kind of check. I assumed, so I'm going to get the correct screws. I'm even going to check the back. The right ones. So what I did notice with this is this part, I think, is designed, it's quite thin there, it's quite flexible, is designed so you can peel it back and take that pin out. In the meantime, it's held in place with one of these, which is the correct one this time. So I put that in. I guess it doesn't warn you here, but this doesn't need to be super firm. That is held in place, won't bend back. Right. I think I need another coffee after that. So I shall move on, back with the next part. Okay, so I did the front lower suspension arms too. There was a slightly tricky moment. These little plastic kind of disc washer things that had to slot in. They don't actually clip in place in any form, they just had to rest there. So what I ended up doing to make this work was kind of slotting the arms into this, holding the plastic things in place and then putting a whole unit on, rather than putting this plastic unit on first and trying to magically. I think you're supposed to use the grease to hold those in place, but that seemed quite fiddly. So anyway, got the whole on, got the front bumper on. Bumper, when I use the word bumper quite loosely here, this is not really going to cover the wheels at all. Any bets on how long this will last with my usual kind of bashing and jumping and skate parks and stuff? Probably not long, but it does seem the sort of bumper where I could actually sculpt a larger bumper out of maybe nylon sheet and actually bolt it on. This seems, you know, quite decent to attach stuff to there, so that may be an option. So upper suspension arms, revise this in advance so I don't mess it up. It gives you a warning here about putting the parts on the correct way around. Note direction. Well, I'm going to note the direction, all right. A little bit of a fiddle, but it's okay as long as it gets there in the end, once you start getting it screwed in. Do not over tighten, that's because obviously these are suspension arms, they've got to move freely, so that is fine. That's also why you've got to put a bit of grease on them. So one thing I quite like about this is they've got a little swizzly arrow on here, so I've assembled it that way, swizzle it around to attach it on here. Simple screwing in place this time. I've got the correct screws first go. Novel idea, but it might just work. One thing I tend to do is when I'm putting in multiple screws, I don't fully tighten the first screw until all the others are almost tight, and then I know that things are kind of lined up exactly. Don't make kind of any mistakes with holes out of place. Just check, tighten, tighten, tighten. All good. Okay. So those that's ready to have the hubs and the suspension. I think that is a little bit loose on there, so I'll tighten that one up. Let's see. Still a little bit. Tiny bit stiff there. Perfect. Okay, so next it will be the front uprights, what I call like the steering hubs. This will be a fun part because this is where we really start to see it take shape. Right, so this is where it gets a bit more hardcore with the what they call the front uprights, which also is like the steering hubs. I don't know the exact terms of this. This area has a sort of special place in my heart because I'll just start doing this as I go. Special place in my heart because when I had the Savage XS, I took it out for the local park, 15 minutes running. I think I sent it up a tree or something, did a huge jump off a tree, and snapped one of the whatever these parts are here, snapped one of the cups, drive cups. Not sure, it's a metal drive cup, not sure how I snapped it. And I panicked and I was like, oh my god, I've broken it already, and then I realised I could order parts. And just a bit of, it doesn't show to put grease around the outside, but I think it obviously lubricate the bushings all up. Ordered parts, stripped them down, replaced it, fixed it. I was like, oh my god, I fixed something. But this was the very first part I started tinkering around with an RC model. So yeah, fond memories of breaking it and fixing it. Just check these are right. So sometimes it's a bit difficult with these where you have to lubricate a part and then screw it in place. So I think what I might do with this is I'm going to put some lube inside the hole here. Try not to get it all over the screw. Just check this is the right way around. It's the sort of thing that some of these parts, like both of these are left and right, these are universal, but these sections here are not. So that is correct on there, and then we've got this little nut with a ball on top for when the steering rods clip in. That goes in, again get it right, screws into the outside one. They give you a nut kind of wrench here. Okay, and then moving swiftly on, because I thought I'd do this all in one go because it's quite a nice, satisfying stage. So this has actually been there's a left-hand version on the diagram, but it's the right hand on here. So this is now due to go in place, screw in place into the suspension arms. What I will do is I will screw in one side first, then I'll put the dog bone, the cup out from the diffs and the cup to the wheels in, and then I'll screw the top in. Obviously they show it going all at once, but that ain't how it works in reality. So long screw at the bottom, goes through the outer arm and through here. So again, bit of lube. Where do you have to lube? Everything. Okay. Again, I will just put it in the holes like that, so it will push through nicely. Just check. That is going to be correct on there. That is going to be where the steering touches. So this part is a little bit more to kind of get right. From the cup out of the diff, got this little rubber ring to go in. And what I did, these dog bones in here, you want them to move pretty smoothly, and I don't want anything that's going to catch and wear the rubber, so I'm just scraping. There's a little bit of a mould line from the sprue, scraping that off, edge of the blade. So where do you have to lube? Everything again, right, cool. At least they do give you plenty of grease, plenty of lubrication grease on this, even though they didn't give you plenty of the anti-wear grease. So that goes in like so. You just got to rotate it so it puts in place. Cool, stuff working. What I'm going to do for convenience, because I've got to lube these ends, is put a bit of lube on that end, a bit of lube on this end. So, and then I'm just going to put that wash on so that I get in the right place. Now all goes to plan, as I've done before. Just hold this with one hand, hopefully this is visible. Hop in, cup into there. That rotates. So I do have a bit of experience messing around with this sort of thing. And as long as you get everything lined up, like so, that should slot into there. Oops, the washer has come out, so I've got to be a bit more careful with that. Now because one end requires a washer, I'm going to do that end first, so I can get that firmly in place. And then here, take that so the pins line up. There we go. Okay, just check this, all good. Now I've got one pin to go on here, and again, you've got to loop it. Which way does it go? It goes in that way, looped around here. So I'm going to carefully put some lube in this hole. Just got to be careful kind of moving this around because you don't want everything that's kind of just resting in place, just out of place. And screw this in firmly. Problem is now you kind of get grease all over your hands, makes it a bit harder. tighten. That is nice and loose. Right, so now to check. I can still see that O-ring in there, so that's going to reduce the kind of impact on that. If I turn this, diff is turning, everything is turning in there. So there we go, that is one side of the front done. Everything that's ready to steer. That's okay. That looks like how it should be. There's not much steering range in this, but I'm sure that'll all make sense in the end. Cool. So I've got a lot of this to finish off, and then I'll be on to the shock absorbers, which is another fairly tricky bit. I'm kind of looking forward to tackling. Okay, cool. Okay, I'm back. I'm out of coffee. The previous video has finished uploading, and this is starting to look vaguely car-shaped, which is cool. All the arms on, everything's rotating just about. Yeah, that's cool. So shock absorbers. Just put that on. Okay. So the shocks, front and back shocks, are different sizes, as seems to be common with buggies. Quite cool. They put, they're all very similar, white plastic. I'm really not convinced about white colour. But there we go. They put the front ones in a blue bag, rear ones in a white bag, just because they are different lengths and different sizes. So that's pretty useful. Those that way. So building the shocks. Shock oil. They got shock oil, this silicon damper oil, shock oil, whatever. They bring me the yellow stuff, which is 400 CST. I'm going to keep this bottle as is because it's quite convenient. I'm actually going to use my own 500 CST I have already. I probably prefer them a bit stiffer anyway, because I tend to do a lot of bouncing around with these cars. So let's go. Let's just check that's screwing firmly. So apply damper oil to those 3mm washers. 3mm washers. O-rings. So just put a little bit of oil inside. I guess it's just to make sure it's a good seal. Poke them in. Now this stage is one of the stages where I'm glad I've got a full loo roll to hand and a towel down, because oil gets everywhere. Just par for the course. So tighten that up. Put that in place. Shock shaft. Make sure I've got the right one. Yep. Okay, it's going to put in oil down it just to make sure the little compartment at the bottom is well oiled. Push it through and push it down. Then put the, I don't know what these things are called. The second thing I broke on there, savage though. Wrap the shaft in tissue paper, grip it firmly with pliers, twist this just making sure I have enough space to see when it's fully screwed on there. That feels pretty tight. Cool. Next stage, the stage where it all gets messy. So, never sure if I do this right, so it's good on to film. Oil seal green, got it. Lid, got it. Oil. Pull down piston, pour oil into a cylinder. This shows it being pretty much full up, so you can pour it in like you'd pour a nice cold pint of proper lager. I quite liking the heavily brew at the moment. I think it's Belgian, but it's a proper lager, not a wheat beer. Really nice. So pour it, try and get as the least head on your oil as possible. Now that to me looks like kind of managed to avoid bubbles. Very carefully push it up, pull it down. I think that is, when this goes on, that'll overflow slightly, which is kind of what we want to make sure it's full. Put the cap on, press it down, overflows, that should be pretty much full. Absorb oil overflow tissue paper. This one I'm actually really paying attention to because, as I say, I never feel that I do this quite right. And then put that on, tighten cylinder cap. So this is one, when I've done this before, I tighten it as best I can by hand, really clean my fingers off, and then I just grip that. This, I don't think you need to put tissue around because you need tissue around that so you don't damage the metal and kind of abrade it inside, but this is obviously the outside of the cylinder. So when I grip it at the bottom so I don't damage it, and just hand tighten that top. There we go. So let's feel how that goes. Yeah, and that seems to work. Cool, right. Line, there we go. Right. Shock spring, and then as always you've got the nice easy clip. Oh, actually what I will do first, sorry, you've got to put the spring tension dampener spacer. What I've done with this is I've just chosen the middle one out of the three, clip that in place, easy to take on and off and adjust out in the field if you need to, not really sure. So I'm erring on the side of kind of medium to firm here. How's that doing? Ooh, yeah, that feels nice and firm. Right, I got on the vehicle. So these are the front ones. So same as before, look where it goes, middle in there, on there. Couple of plastic spacers and more grease, more screwing. Right, there we go. Feels, yeah, pretty good that. So there you go, white, kind of chav white there, good for like little kids in their little Ford Fiestas, but not so, I don't know, I don't like it so much, but that's okay. You can always upgrade to aluminium ones later. So there you go, 4 more shocks to do, and I think that'll be it for today.